If we could all rise for the pledge of allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Next time we got to do it all together. We can have 4 different versions of this coming out. Okay. Well, thank you everyone for coming out. So we will start it. Madam Clerk, would you please call the roll?
Trustee Rogers.
Present.
Trustee Reinders.
Present.
Trustee Guzmino.
Present.
Trustee Consolino.
Present.
Trustee Bialko.
Present.
Trustee Baha.
Present.
And Mayor Yurich.
Present. Are there any amendments, are there any approval of amendments to the agenda?
I have one.
Okay.
Would like to see us table I-1, the workshop for the safety cameras. We had discussed this in a previous meeting. We had talked about bringing it back as a committee of the whole so that we could include the Parks Committee and the Public Safety Committee. Because when I was on the Parks Committee, there was a lot of discussions about the cameras, and there was some passion with regards to it on both sides. And when I was on public safety, it was the same. The discussion of the cameras, there was just a lot of dialogue. And I'd like to hear from those committee members. So I'd like to see it as a committee of a whole where they're all invited and made aware of it, or even putting it on the next agenda and just having it be the first item on the agenda, so move the workshop up so that the committee members don't have to stay through the whole meeting if they don't want to. But I just think out of respect for those committee members that they should be included in the discussion.
Okay. So right now,
Mr. Mayor, if I could just, back in March, there was a presentation done on public services and safety on the topic.
But
So I don't know if that changes any opinions, that's up to
yeah,
you, but
the Parks Committee hasn't, when I mentioned it to them, they were, they didn't really know anything about it. I just think that it would be good dialogue for both committees to be together and the new chairmen to hear what their committee members think about it before they, make a decision on it. Some of the cameras have been up for a little while, so I'd like to get some kind of feedback as to how effective they are, how friendly they are, user-friendly, not user-friendly they are. We've had some vandalism in the park. Have they been effective in tracking them down? Is this going to be money well spent? I just think that there's people at both committees that have a lot of time invested in the discussion, and they should be part of it.
I will second it.
any other discussion? Okay, so we're going to table it, so we don't have to.
You just call, all those in favor.
All right, all in favor.
Aye.
Okay, we're going to put it on.
I also have an amendment to the agenda, please, if I could. In executive session, please add personnel to L3.
And actually, we can have that on there, but you don't really need to adjust the agenda. You can simply make the motion at the time of the executive session. You can always, for any
It's
reason.
been done that way before, so that's why I wanted to follow what's been done before. Thank you.
Sure.
All right, next will be reports and communications from mayor and other officers. I'll start off with, for the residents of Homer Glen that are 65 and older, they are eligible for a senior discount on their garbage services from home disposal. Residents must complete and submit an application in order to receive the discount. The application can be found on the village's website, Homewood Disposal's website. You can call 708-798-1004 for more information. Second, we have been having a lot of younger people, not from this area, coming through Homer Glen, and they go to every single solitary car, and they grab the handles and see it open. Make sure you're locking the car doors. Most of you have garage door openers in there too, so if they get into the car, they've got access to pretty much anything. When they vandalize them, they take everything they possibly can. They went through my whole truck. They went through a whole bunch of neighbors. they are brazen as hell because they just walk right up the driveway and they don't care. So lock your car doors. Make sure you have some lights on out there so this way at least it can be seen. And from that, we'll go to the trustees and we will start with trustee Fialko.
All right. We had the fest that we went through, and we had a lot of rain, but the fest was very successful. I just want to say for all the volunteers that are out there that committed so much time and hours to making that successful, even though every day was not as good as we would have liked it to be with the weather. There's hours and hours of countless volunteer time that's committed to that. Some of those people are not here tonight, who I would like to thank. But for every good project, there's always a great woman behind it. And Beth Rogers, I'd like to thank her. She is that person who made it successful. She took the reins from Carla Caprio and finished up the year with making that a great success. So thank you, Beth.
Thank you.
That's it, Mark.
Thank you, trustee Fialko. Trustee Reiner.
Trustee Reinders?
Reinders. Didn't I? All right.
Last night we had our first CED committee that was held since February of 2021. And actually everybody, it was very nice to meet everybody, so it was my pleasure to get to know everyone. Upon approval from the board and in an effort to encourage economic growth and business retention, the Village of Homer Glen is proposing the Commercial Building Improvement Grant. This grant will be available to building owners, tenants, and new businesses who wish to improve their commercial building visible from the public right-of-way. A few of the eligible improvements that will be included in this grant are signs, new or replacement, facade improvements, awnings or canopies, windows and door replacements, utility improvements, and outdoor dining, new or expanding, and these are just a few of the items that are eligible. We're hoping that in the next board meeting we can have a packet and everybody can review the rest of it. Applicants must install at least $2,000 worth of material improvements. Grant reimbursement of up to 50% of approved costs with a max of $10,000 will be available. Applications will be on a first-come, first-served basis and the availability of funds. This program is supported by a $40,000 placehold in the Economic Development account in the 2022 budget. The past few years have been straining on businesses and building owners, to say the least. They have had to put off repairs and improvements until they were financially able. They were always on a project or expense that was more important. This committee recognizes the need, and hopefully with this grant, this will give maybe some of the businesses a shot in the arm that they need. And with its success, we can increase the amount in the future to continue its success. That's my report.
Thank you very much. Okay. Next would be trustee Pasmino.
Thank you, Mayor. Reporting to the Environment Committee, it is with a heavy heart that I announce the passing of one of our long-standing committee members, John L. Lubbock Jr. Mr. Lubbock has been a pillar of that committee and has done massive contributions to it as well. So if we can bow our heads for silence for Mr. Lubbock and his family, I'd appreciate it.
Anything else?
Bowing our heads and silence.
I didn't hear you.
Sorry. Thank you. That's okay. I do have quite a bit more.
Okay, go ahead.
Thank you, Mayor. This was the first meeting for Trustee Consolino to join the Environment Committee. Trustee Consolino, once again, welcome. And it was also very welcomed by the rest of all of our committee members. We approved the winners of the Big Tree Contest for 2021. We received 8 nominations, and 5 of these nominations were verified as being the biggest of their species. The awards will be scheduled for August 11th board meeting. Also, we have nominations for the Community and Nature and Harmony Awards. And we're also working on that, so that's also being discussed. We currently have 8 nominations, and although the deadline was for June 20th, we would still like to encourage and accept more nominations. Our committee is looking for a few volunteers to help us assist in visiting these locations and taking pictures over the next few weeks. We are hoping to submit the winners to the village board by the end of August and beginning of September. Next up, excitingly, we have the National Public Lands Day. That will be Saturday, September 25th. Our Environment Committee celebrates this by having a fall tree planting and a community cleanup day. For the fall planting, we purchased 2 Norway spruces earlier this year, in which we planted during the spring in front of the village maintenance building on 151st Street. The committee is still working on scheduling a community cleanup day, and we will keep the board and the village posted on that date. Lastly, a request was made by one of our board members to look into having the village make a statement requesting that PACE only utilize diesel-free vehicles, and this request will be brought to the board in a future date. And I actually have one more thing. During public comment, we had a larger than usual attendance of neighbors expressing concerns about a property that may be allowing semi-diesel truck parking. The property was inspected and was not found to be in violation of any said diesel truck parking. It is also brought to our attention that one of the residents may be in violation of overnight semi-truck diesel parking, and that's been submitted to the inspector to check up on, and he'll get back to us at a later date. So that concludes my report.
Thank you, Trustee Petrino. Trustee Rogers?
Just piggybacking a little bit on the fest, it was everything that we could do, we did. We can't control the rain. We did get a lot of rain. We had some, not challenges, but some differences this year. We were in a new location. We had a brand new tent. We had just a lot of different logistical things, but overall, the numbers, we'll have all the final numbers at the meeting in July to kind of tie everything up, but from what we've seen and what so far, we had record-breaking numbers relative to MegaPass sales, ticket sales, and we did have some challenges with regards to parking because of the amount of rain we had. We weren't able to utilize any grass parking, but everybody worked together. The township worked with the highway, and the village worked. Everybody just worked together, and we did what we could do, and it was a huge success. But I will say that the volunteers are what make it, and we again, every year we're always short on volunteers, but there are those people who are out there every day, all day, 20 hours a day. Rosie, Dan, his wife Rose, Tony Drabick, Dave Bricker, Todd Montera, and John Robinson and his guys worked just so many hours. But this fest would have never happened without Chris Acacius. Chris Acacius, spearheaded this. He took it on. He has years of experience in running it. He knows, he sees problems before they happen. He's incurred problems that have happened in the past. He's quick to act. And, I think it's important that people understand that they, not only are they volunteering their hours, they're using their vacation days that week. They take off work so that we can do these fests. And that's huge. And it just means a lot. It would not have happened without Chris. It definitely would not have happened. And I know I'm missing a lot of people, relative to their work that they put in and the amount of hours that they were there. But it is overwhelming to see how much work that really goes into it, and the people who are very passionate about it. And I just want to encourage residents next year to please volunteer, because when you don't volunteer, we're out there 20 hours instead of 7 hours, and just a couple hours here and there just helps so much. I had the opportunity of working with a lot of the kids, the students who volunteered for their hours, and they were great. I mean, they were just great. And the residents were so sweet to them. Some of them were like tipping them, and it was just really cute. It was really nice to see. And I think that they actually enjoyed it. I mean, they weren't dreading it. We made fun of it. So I just would encourage people to really mark it on your calendars and just give this village 4 hours of your day, one of the days, and it'll help those of us who are out there all the time. Because the amount of hours that we work, we're not there Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday. We're there Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday. 18-hour days usually. 8 o'clock in the morning till midnight. One day I was driving home and I saw some girls walking in the street at 1 o'clock in the morning. I had to give them a ride home because there was no way for them to leave the fest. Their ride had left. So then I didn't even know where I was going to be taking them. But I mean, that's what Homer Glen's about. We take care of each other, and I just want to really encourage people to wrap your arms around this fest so that we can continue to do it, because it gets iffy every year with these volunteers, and people get burned out. It's hard. It takes a week to recover from working from it. So that's all I have.
Thank you. Trustee Lana?
I am reporting for the Ability Awareness Committee. Our first official meeting was July 6th, and we covered quite a bit. The pre-party carnival was a great success, so I just want to thank all of you who put your time into that. It was really nice for the Ability Awareness Committee to be invited to be a part of that, so thank you. That was our very first event. We also raised funds that will allow the committee to do some really nice things for the community, and I also want to thank those who worked the beer tent and supported this past market in the Glen, and especially Trustee Fialco, Trustee Rogers, Mayor Ugich, for your time. Even after the fest, you guys still came and supported, so that really meant a lot to us in supporting us our first week out of the gate, so thank you. The Pop Top Challenge with New Lenox came to a close, and I have asked for Clerk Knightsky-Troike to report on that, as well as discuss how family nominations will go moving forward. I do want to commend her on a job well done. The whole challenge was her baby from beginning to the end, and she did an amazing job with it. Her energy was contagious during it, so we had a lot of fun, so thank you for that. Back to the market in the Glen, we created 7 hands-on stations to simulate or experience what it may be like to live with different disabilities that both children and their parents participated in. So we had a sign language demonstration, which went really well, and I want to publicly acknowledge committee members Karen Adamczyk and Heather Bleck for their extra time and care helping with that event. It went really nice, and we actually have been asked by a couple of the schools in the area to hold those stations moving forward in the fall, so that's kind of fun. Last week, I met with Keith Wallace, the director of Lincoln Way Special Recreation Association, and I really look forward to creating an even stronger relationship with him for the benefit of our community members that may have physical or mental disabilities, as well as receive some creative input from our parks. Tomorrow, myself and Trustee Reinders and Trustee Consolino have been invited to attend their grand opening of their inclusive park. So I would like to invite any board members or park committee members that would like to attend. It's really, really something to see. It's beautiful. Also, I have a meeting next week with Northern Will County SRA, so I'm looking forward to that. If any community members have any questions about Lincoln Way Northern or Northern Will County Special Rec programs, I'd be happy to help you receive some information on that. I can confirm that the township has been paying their stipends and is up to date with both organizations. So I want to personally thank them for that. That's a really great asset that our community members can use. We're currently putting together a community survey to find out how we can best serve our differently abled citizens of Homer Glen. That link should be out sometime next week. It will be emailed and shared via social media. The village website has been updated with the Ability Awareness Committee information, and the mission statement and purpose will be added shortly so people can fully understand who we are and what we do. The survey link will also be added to that tab and will stay there to allow community feedback indefinitely. We're also working on compiling different resources that fall under the committee's scope, and we'll add those links to the Ability Awareness Committee tab. Last but certainly not least, July is Disability Pride Month, and the Ability Awareness Committee is excited to celebrate this special month and would also like to invite the Homer Glen residents to join in. On July 16th, which is Disability Awareness Day, we will begin a community-wide photo contest. Community members can submit photos taken around town that highlight accessibility. It could be a wheelchair ramp, a wider doorway, or an inclusive shopping cart. Anything that highlights accessibility here in Homer Glen. Each photo submitted will equal 1 entry, and you can send as many as you like. A winner will be chosen at the end of Disability Pride Month, July 30th, to receive a nice prize from the committee. Specific details will be introduced on Facebook tomorrow, so be on the lookout for that. And this is also an invitation for local businesses to show their accessible accommodations. We're excited to support Disability Pride, and we hope that you will show your support too. A special thank you to Ed Kerfin for inviting the Ability Awareness Committee to be on the radio last week. It's always such an honor to be able to discuss this committee and advocate for the disabled community of Homer Glen and their families. So thank you very much for that opportunity, and that's my report.
Thank you, Trustee Laha. Trustee Consolino.
I'd like to start out tonight by saying how amazing our Homer Fest was. Even more so, I would like to shout out a big thank you to all of our staff, all of our volunteers who worked nonstop in inclement weather to make it a huge success. This was my first year volunteering with the festival, and I was absolutely astonished by the amount of time and effort everyone put into this production. Like Beth Rogers said, it was hours and hours and days. A large amount of residents attended, and they enjoyed the fest because of all of your hard work. Thank you again for sacrificing your time to do it. I had the pleasure of chairing my very first meeting with the Public Safety Committee last week. I feel very privileged to work alongside members who are working selflessly in public service. Each member is an asset to the community of Homer Glen, and they represent our village staff, our fire department, our emergency management agency, and our Will County Sheriff's Department. The institutional knowledge that they bring to this table is invaluable. Hopefully my years as an employee with the Cook County Sheriff's Office will be beneficial to the Public Safety Board and working to keep Homer Glen safe for our citizens. I can report that we had a light agenda meeting, and we are happy with the success of the 2021 Homer Fest, and that there was little to no incidents to report, and that's a large accomplishment. During public comment, we had a residential complaint from the Woodbine subdivision regarding parking and loitering on private property. This issue will be addressed further at the next Homer Fest committee meeting. Our first Long Run Creek report was generated by the Development Service Director, Mike Salamovich. This report will be posted on the Village of Homer Glen's website with a monthly update for public viewing for the residents of Long Run Creek. The goal of this report is to provide transparency with the village's advocacy for these residents and give information, status, and action with each outside agency that is involved with these violations and the flooding with the parcels that affect their properties. I'm going to give you a list of all these 8 outside agencies so that everybody can understand why it's such a complicated process. The Illinois Department of Natural Resources is involved, Federal Emergency Management Agency, FEMA, is involved, the Cook County Building and Zoning Department is involved, Lamont Township is involved, the United States Army Corps of Engineers is involved, the Metropolitan Water Reclamation Department is involved, as well as our staff here at the Village of Homer Glen. Also, the Metropolitan Water Reclamation District of Greater Chicago issued a violation report on April 21st for these owners of the 3 properties, stating that they were in apparent violation of the MWRD's Watershed Management Ordinance. One of the owners has not responded to the report, and 2 of the owners have made progress in removing items from the floodplain. The village will continue to follow up on this. Instead of me going into details about each parcel, this information will be posted on the website. I'd also like to say that I enjoyed having my first meeting with our Impassioned Environment Committee this week as well, with Trustee Pasmino. I'm looking forward to working alongside Trustee Pasmino and his board in conjunction with our village's motto of community and nature and harmony. This is our founding principle in Homer Glen, and it is the fabric of what we proudly stand for in this community. The Environment Committee supports this mission, and they help to promote this concept and make it happen. These board members have enriched us in our natural landscape, as well as they keep our residents informed and encourage them to be environmentally aware and participate in this process. I see a great future in what this committee and its board members can do to advocate, protect, and enrich our environment. In discussing the Environment Committee, I will try not to repeat what Trustee Pasmino reported before the board as well. Sadly, we lost Mr. Lubbock, who was a long-standing and respected member of our committee. We had a lot of residents that attended the meeting on Monday, and these residents had a great deal of concern regarding semi-truck parking and diesel particles affecting us and our environment. Trustee Pasmino and I have been both informed village staff and the Will County Sheriff of these concerns and the possible ordinance violations regarding this. They were brought to the attention of the committee, and we will provide follow-up when possible. I encourage more residents to apply for the Community and Nature in Harmony contest, as we are still keeping it open. And we will provide more information on our community cleanup day and the date that we're having it. This concludes my report.
Thank you, Chief Consolino. Next will be the village clerk.
Thank you, Mayor. As my name is Success, which I'm very proud of, with the New Lenox collecting 2,134 pounds and Homer Glen collecting 1,883 pounds, we were able to donate 4,017 pounds directly to the Oaklawn Ronald McDonald House, which roughly translates to about $2,500. It's a little more than the going rate because the recycling place does give the Ronald McDonald House a little bit more because of their cause and their efforts to help others. We did donate the tabs directly to a little girl named Lily Giomona, who lives in Manhattan. She had a goal of collecting 5 million pop tabs before her 5th birthday, and with our help, she did reach that goal. She did want me to say thank you to everyone who participated. She is now the #1 tab collector, and she's raised over 6 million tabs in her little short lifetime that she's got going right now. But she wanted me to tell you guys that she's not giving up, and if we continue to do this next year, the following year, she'd like to be considered as someone that we give the tabs to too. So I wanted to thank all the residents who participated and all the businesses who collected on behalf of the village, Ruby Agave, Tavern Glen, and Pelican Harry's. You were a true asset to this challenge and couldn't have done it without you guys. Thank you to all the volunteers in the AAC committee who came out to help with the weigh-in. Trustee Rogers, Mayor Yukich, you were both not only fun, but a big help. Thank you, Trustee Fialco, for your support that day of Martin Glen. Thank you to Trustee Laha. Thank you for not only creating such fun activities for the weigh-in, but for always being you. You are truly an amazing ambassador for the inclusion of families, not only in Homer Glen, but families everywhere. I'm proud to serve on the AAC committee with you. I also wanted to give a huge thank you to all those who participated financially to the Pop Tab Challenge. Thank you to Como's Corn Maze, Birchwood Gardens, Cheston's Pizza, Raffy's Candy, and the Mayor of New Lenox for donating a total of $10,500. With the funds we raised, we were able to send one family with special needs from New Lenox and one from Homer Glen. So with that being said, I would like to remind everyone for the nominations for a family that starts July 16th and ends August 16th. We will announce the winner at our August 25th board meeting. You are able to nominate multiple families with special needs. You do not have to live in Homer Glen to nominate someone, but you have to live in Homer Glen to receive the award. Please check out the village website or Facebook page for the link for the nomination form. And that concludes my report, actually. I was going to talk about the fest, but you guys pretty much carried it all up. So that's it.
Thank you. Thank you very much. You did a lot of work. We're all proud.
Thank you.
Okay, next would be village attorney.
How can I follow that?
Yeah.
No reporter, thank you.
Public service and safety official.
Yes, sir. It's hard to follow all that. You guys covered it, which I appreciate, but what I like is, and I want the public to know this, what we're seeing is everybody working together. Be it the board, the mayor, the village staff, the police, fire, all the public service entities, but also you, the public, because we all have to work together in all of these types of activities to make it a success. The fest, thank you, everybody, because we can't do it alone. We do our very best, but without everybody's help, it wouldn't have been as safe as it was, and I really appreciate that. Along those lines of working together, public safety. People are scared, about cars getting broken into, and the mayor touched on it early. We have to remember to lock our vehicles, number one. Number two, to be aware of our surroundings, okay? And I want to remind everybody that though it's good to get the word out on social media about something that happened, please, please, please make sure you contact the police first so we can log it, we can see where it's occurring. Listen, 24 hours a day, 365 days a year, the Sheriff's Department is actively patrolling this village, okay? But as you know, we can only be so many places at one time, and that's where the public comes in. If you see something suspicious, a car, even if it's during the day, report it, okay? Somebody's soliciting, they need a permit in the village to solicit, call us.
Too often we hear after the fact, I saw this car, maybe it had something to deal with it, or we didn't want to bother you. Guess what? I'm getting paid to be bothered. Bother us. We'd rather know than not know, okay? Also, if you have elderly neighbors, please be in regular contact with them. And the reason I bring that up, it's summertime. We get the scams of let me do your driveway, let me redo your roof, and that kind of stuff. So any help we can get helping your neighbors, it's community. We always talk about community. I'm not trying to sound too cliche, but it takes a village. It takes all of us working together to keep this community safe. And it's wonderful. I love being a part of this village because of that community aspect of it. It's great working with everybody. Yeah, that's it.
Thank you, Lieutenant.
Thank you, sir.
And last, our village manager.
No report, Mr. Mayor.
Okay, next would be public comments. The next agenda item is public comments, and if you could please limit your remarks to 3 minutes. First one would be Brian Kohler.
Good evening, Mayor, trustees, and staff. Thank you for having me tonight. I just had a quick thank you that I wanted to provide to just the hard work that staff, past trustees, and you, Mayor, that have done providing a very unique service and opportunity to our community. I'll summarize it. Currently, the residents of Homer Glen have 12 different taxing bodies on our property taxes. Of those taxing bodies, one of those is the Homer Glen Road District. That our share is $165 per year per $100,000 actualized value. And the village of Homer Glen currently has no tax charge. We're one of the few communities left in Illinois that have no property taxes. Homer Glen owns 135 miles of road and has had an intergovernmental agreement with the Homer Glen Road District to maintain those roads. The road district itself, as a component of Homer Glen Township, itself only maintains 18 miles of road. The village of Homer Glen has worked with the road district on a plan to transfer the stewardship of the road district to the village of Homer Glen. As a result of this transfer, previous village manager Frilling explained during the December 10th, 2020 village board meeting that this would require the approval of a 1-year, $57 per $100,000 equalized value of housing, 1-year tax, which was required per Illinois law, to be able to provide the $1.5 million in taxes that we need because we're a year behind in the property taxes. And the other half comes from the road district. Frilling continues saying that this $1.5 million would come from the funds currently budgeted to be given to the road district through the intergovernmental agreement. And any additional funds, if this $3 million ends up being insufficient, would come from motor fuel tax or other revenue streams available for this next year. According to Frilling, the road district's budget with the intergovernmental agreement and current responsibilities is $4.3 million. And with this transfer of stewardship in an efficient administration environment, the new property tax should be approximately only 8% of its current size. So the road district would be going from $165 a year to about $18 a year per their last report that they submitted. Their actual department costs went from $4.3 million to $511,000. And that, through effective administration, this transfer of stewardship and the new resulting tax burden is equitable, neutral, efficient compared to the more expensive intergovernmental agreement with the road district.
You have 30 seconds.
It is unfortunate that the Homer Township Road District did not follow suit and allow Homer Glen to provide the remaining road service without cost to them. The new Homer Glen tax has horizontal equity. The new lesser tax burden is equalized based on present residents' property taxes. This downsizing and attempt to eliminate a special district with this transfer of stewardship is a rare Illinois example of efficiency produced by the public administrators at the village of Homer Glen and their ability to utilize multiple revenue sources to provide this public service. In summary, Homer Glen is creating a new property tax by nearly eliminating a special district. And this is, once again, a rare opportunity for all Homer Glen residents to save about $140 per tax cycle per year, possibly more in the future, depending on how that Public Works Department comes in. And I just want to take a moment to give credit where credit is due. Mike DeVivo had discussed this idea for years with his attorneys, worked with Mayor Yukich over the past year or two on executing the actual transfer. Village attorneys Eric Hansen and James Murphy deserve credit for formulating the legal defense of this transfer and navigating the board through a unique court case. Village manager Frilling worked extremely hard to see the transfer through, making it a top priority for our staff and communicating to the public that this was the right thing to do for Homer Glen. HR manager Stacy Petrakinos ensured the road district employees were informed during this process and onboarded efficiently in April. Pat Healy, Debbie Stevens, Sean McKee, Michael Salamet, John Sawyers, and John Robinson have played key roles in keeping this newly formed department running smoothly. Kudos goes out to Homer Glen staff, interim village manager Matt Walsh, the mayor, and past trustees who saw this process through. Kudos goes to Mike DeVivo, whose foresight, humility, and perseverance has left a legacy of financial efficiency and accountability for the residents of this area to be proud of for now and for the future. Thank you.
Thank you, Brian. And we agree. Kudos to Mr. DeVivo. We all miss him very much. Next would be Tony Dragic.
Mayor, Village Board, I'd just like to come up here and acknowledge the staff and for all the work that they do at the fest and name some people that I know that I've worked with to see. I mean, Sue Stylen and Amy Blank, the work that they do is, I don't know what the fest committee would do without them. Joe Baber, Scott Chance, Doreen, they're there every year volunteering sometime during the fest. Cynthia Rentage, I've seen her more than 2 years from the township over here. Deb Stevens, Pat Healy, and all those guys. John Robinson, his crew in its entirety, but specifically Brett and Steve. I don't know their last names, but Steve, that guy, I think he was there, the first one there and the last one to leave every night. Not a frown on his face, not a huff or a puffy if he had to do anything more. I mean, just unbelievable, amazing. Like to thank Keith Gray for his donation to screen printing, Rose, with all the food that she provided for us up here, made it through, kept us hydrated too. The fire departments, Chief Locatius and Deputy Chief Fonfera, and all their guys that are up here to keep everyone safe, and Lieutenant Howledge and all his sheriff, his deputies. Last, I'd like to also acknowledge, Russ Knack, I've seen him, former trustee up here as well, donating his time up here, so thank you guys.
Thank you, Tony, for helping us. You were part of that.
Thank you.
Thank you. Next would be Stephanie Maloney.
We had no contents. We signed them wrong.
Not a problem. Andrew Schmidt.
We had no contents.
Is there anyone else with you? All right, Wayne Fairbrother.
Wayne Fairbrother, 14459 Provencal Drive, Homer Glen. I have a question for the mayor. I was at the water agency meeting last month in Woodridge, and I'm concerned that this agency has now been 10 years in the business of doing what they're doing. They continue to spend a lot of money, I think a lot of money, on lawyers and consultants every year, and Homer Glen is paying 20% of it. I'd like to ask the mayor if he thinks this is going to trial or what's going to happen with the agency over the near future.
We have to see with Illinois American. They're stretching it out as much as they could to get as much as they can. Price keeps going up every single solitary year. We spend more money, but if we stop, we also lose everything. And now we don't have control over anything. I would say the next one's supposed to be in the next month and a half, 2 months. I would love to be able to get up there and stand before the judge, and that's what I'm supposed to do when they finally get us a break. Unfortunately, I can't tell you when they're going to do it. They just keep on finding some excuse. But I think the judge is also getting tired of it. I think this is the second or third judge that's been looking at this. So hopefully in the next month and a half, I'll have a lot better news. Okay. Thank you. All right. Anuradha Sharma. Did I butcher that?
No, she's for the zoning item for the spa, which is coming up later. Yeah, special use permit for the spa massage.
Okay. All right, so we're gonna bring yours up in a few minutes. So, I'm sorry, your name's up there, so I gotta call. All right, Art Everhart?
Hi, I'm Art Eberhard. I'm with Meadowcrest Subdivision. As you know, 2 weeks ago, we had a pretty substantial flood event in this area. And I wanted to make sure, since I haven't heard any reports today, other than a very limited discussion of some flood litigation, I wanted to express my thoughts on this matter. In Meadowcrest, for the last, well, ever since it was constructed, we have a pond that floods approximately every 4 years. And the main concern that I have is when the pond floods, there are a number of transformers in the subdivision for electricity. And those transformers go underwater. And I'm not sure if you're aware, but they were underwater again 2 weeks ago. But the thing that's of most concern is, well, there's two things. One, it's very dangerous when they're underwater. Commonwealth Edison will not go in, and if one of the transformers shorts out, they will not go in and work on these transformers unless the waters recede. They will not stand in water and work on a transformer that is shorted out. Now, if it's not safe for Commonwealth Edison, I don't think it's safe for the neighbors and the children in our neighborhood. And yet, I don't see anybody putting up any caution signs or anything like that to protect children of the neighborhood. That's one concern. The next other one was, I guess it was maybe 6 years ago or 4 years ago, one of the transformers did short out. And the people surrounding the detention pond were without power for over a week because, like I said, Commonwealth Edison would not go in and fix those transformers that had shorted out. This is a problem, especially for any disabled people who need power. And yet, nothing has been done to prevent a similar accident from happening again in the future. Fortunately, this time they were underwater, but they did not short out. So we did not have a power failure this time. This problem in Meadowcrest has been the subject of, I believe, at least 2 studies. The first study, I believe the conclusion was, we need further study. The second one, I haven't really heard anything about. I noticed there was no discussion about the flood issues at Meadowcrest or any other subdivision during this meeting. So I have no idea what the recommendation is. I spoke maybe to your village engineer, I'm not sure, and he just said, well, it's a very difficult problem, and he enumerated the problems. I mean, we've got farmers' fields all around us that do not have detention ponds. And one of them, if it overflows into our detention pond. And he said the excuse for that is that, well, that's the natural flow of water, and we can't disturb the natural flow of water. The other problem with our design is our detention pond is hooked up with a drainage tile in a farmer's field in Cook County. In Cook County, or the way the thing is designed, the farmer's field has to drain before it starts draining our detention pond. So if our detention pond is flooded, it just has to wait. This time, it took 1 week for the pond to return to its bank, and then it took another week for it to finally drain completely. So 2 weeks. That's not a very good drainage situation, especially when it's overflowed into many backyards for over a week. And of course, all the grass in the detention pond is now a mud hole, because if you put grass underwater for 2 weeks, it just dies. So I'm not sure how long it'll take for it to come back. Anyway, the other thing I wanted to mention is that in the past, I've been able to call the township highway department, I believe it is, who used to be responsible for drainage of detention ponds. When I called this time, I was told there's nothing they can do, you have to call the village of Homer Glen. I called the village of Homer Glen. It took 1 week for someone to return my call. And then I was told, well, we're really backed up and we have flood issues all over the village. We'll try to get someone out there as soon as possible. I believe it was nearly another week before I got a second call to say that they'd come out there and there's nothing they could do at this time. So I realize there's a transition going on, and maybe it takes some time to get fully staffed. But the highway department of the township used to be out there within a day or two. 2 weeks is a far cry from that previous service that we had.
All right, well here, we have a 3-minute limit, but I understand exactly what you're saying. And what I will do is I'll get together with Mr. Salamowitz. We'll come out and take a look at it in the next few days. Not going to promise which day, but it'll be the next few days. And then we can get back to you. Because there's a lot of questions I'd like to ask him and see if we can do. Same thing with ComEd. So we'll address it. But it doesn't mean because we're going to address it, it is going to be fixed, because certain things we can't do. We can't stop the water from flowing in, especially if you got all the drain tiles, and I think that's kind of a crock if we can look at Cook County water. But give us an opportunity to, let me talk to them, and I'll get back to you. You don't have a phone number on there, so if you want to come up here and give me your phone number, I'll give you a call in the next couple of days and you can meet us out there. So I get a phone number.
Okay, I just want to mention one other thing. This pond supposedly was designed for a 100-year flood. And in my opinion, because of all the other subdivisions and cornfields that drain into our pond, it's designed for a 4-year flood. 4 years versus 100 years.
That's why I'm saying, we'll get to the bottom of it and we'll find out what it is.
Okay.
And I know they've worked on this stuff before over there, so I happen to live in a subdivision right next to you, so I do understand what you're going through.
Well, I'd like to know what the second study, what the results of the second study was, and what the recommendations are.
Let me sit down with my staff and I'll let you know.
All right. You want me to come up there for the phone number?
Mr. Mayor, just to give a quick update, we currently have an engineering study going on right now. Part of that is the issues that we are dealing with, as he somewhat alluded to, is we're dealing with multiple agencies, property owners. Obviously, the subdivision drains into Cook County, so we're dealing with Cook County, the MWRD, and Orland Park, like I said, as well as other property owners. Following my conversation with Mr. Everhart, when he brought up his concerns, we sent Public Works out to make sure that the outlets were flowing. They went out the same day that I talked to him. I got a response back from Pat Healy from Public Works that they had checked the outlets, checked the outfall for the pond, and everything was free flowing. It is going through a field tile, so not only does the water from the detention pond flow through it, but also it is collecting water from the farm field as well too. So it is not the most efficient way to do things. Unfortunately, this was one of the issues that we've inherited from Will County that we are trying to address. But like I said, because of the complexity of it, because of the various players that we're dealing with, it is something that takes time, but we are working on it.
Oh, I know. But I can understand the residents' concerns that lately with the rains that we have had, everyone says it's a 100-year rain. God, that's a fast 100 years, it keeps going by. So it is something that I'd like to sit down, just let's find out what we can do. And as I said, I can't make any promises on anything because we don't know how to fix this yet. We have to deal with ComEd, we have to deal with Cook County, we have to deal with a few other places. But we'll get this, we'll look into it and we'll give them an answer. You've got the phone number, right, Joe? Yeah. Okay. All right. Thanks, Mr. Eberhardt. We will get back to you. All right. Public comment is done. So next would be consent agenda. All matters listed under the consent agenda are considered routine by the village board and will be enacted by one motion. Is there a motion to approve the following items? 1, the accounts payable for the period of June 11th, 2021 through July 15th, 2021 in the amount of $1,291,231.53. 2, payment of the Village of Homer Glen's May legal bills from Mahoney, Silverman & Cross LLC in the amount of $3,071.25. I like that number better. Payment estimate number 1 from PT Farrell Construction Company for the 2021 road resurfacing program in the amount of $293,225.50. And 4, a 3-year agreement with Adesta to perform utility location services for the Village of Homer Glen as part of the Joint Utility Locating Information and Excavators Julie program. Do I have a motion?
So moved.
Trustee Rogers?
Second.
Rose? Okay, is there any discussion?
I'd just like to make a mention of one thing. Out of number 1, the $1,291,231.53, one of the biggest payments that was made was for the Chickasaw Woodbine payment, 1 and 2. Came to a total of $456,168.76. Just so everybody knows where a big chunk of that came from.
Okay. Is there anything else, Mr. Fialko?
No.
Any other discussion?
No, plus we didn't meet, last meeting, so it seems like it's a lot.
Yeah.
And I think that's what he was trying to point out, so thank you.
Okay, so, Madam Clerk, please call the roll.
Trustee Laha?
Aye.
Trustee Reinders?
Aye.
Trustee Rogers?
Aye.
Trustee Cancelino? Aye. Trustee Fialko?
Aye.
Trustee Pezmino?
Aye.
Motion carries. Next would be legislation and action items. Is there a motion to approve ordinance number 21-026, an ordinance granting a variance to permit stucco on the first floor of a dwelling in lieu of the exterior construction standards requiring that stone or brick material 100% of the aggregate total area of all first floor or story exterior walls, exclusive of doors, windows, and associated trim. Applicability and scope type of building or structure of Chapter 75, buildings of the Code of the Village of Homer Glen for certain real property located at the R2 Single Family Residential District at 15030 West Wood Duck Lane, Homer Glen, Illinois. It is understood the property's address will be 15029 West 139th Street after the building is built. So is there a motion?
Mayor, that is incorrect. The address is the Wood Duck. The Wood Duck address is the newly corrected address for that property, based on the access to the property when the home is built. They have recently been assigned a new address, which is the correct Wood Duck address.
Okay. So it's down here the opposite, but that's fine. So the address of it after it is done will be 1530 15030 Westwood Duck Lane. Is there a motion?
So move. I will second that.
Trustee Pazmino and trustee Fialko. Right?
Yes.
Sorry. Okay, so, discussion.
Mayor, I'd like to point out that H1, H2, H3, and H4, in my opinion, shouldn't even really be on here. And Ruben and I, we're the only ones that were on here previous, but all of these things are things that we have asked to be addressed in variances so that we're not making it so cumbersome on residents to go through the whole process and pay the fees and do all of the, jump through all of these hoops that they need for these type of variances. So, we've asked staff to look at changing those so that they're not so strict and we're not taking up everybody's time to go through all of these. Setback requirement, could be something that we would say, okay, staff, you have the ability to approve anything that's less than 10% variance. To have people come in and go through all of this, it's just a lot. And again, I just want to reinforce the fact that I'm encouraging staff to get with us and get these variances changed so that we can be, just more friendly as far as people wanting to build their homes here in Homer Glen. We look at some of these houses and maybe some of you look at them and go, oh, I don't like that house, but you don't have to live it. Right, I mean, it's a matter of personal taste, and I just think having all of these on here and wasting everybody's time like this is just something that we really need to look into. And even that signage, it's so minor that it's something that we should be allowing or directing staff that, this is so small, it's something that you can do, and it would just make the process of moving Homer Glen forward faster, being more business friendly, being more residential friendly, encouraging people to build here. If they want to build a home that's all glass, so we get to see everything they're doing in there, that's up to them. It just depends on, I just want to, as we look at these, just encourage staff to please put that on top of the list and get that in front of us, because I know that this board really wants to encourage people to move here and are more open to less restrictions on what type of material we want it to be. And I don't want to speak for Ruben, but I think that we've sat on that and have said the same.
And I think our ordinances are up for reevaluation too. So I think this lays groundwork for us to kind of maybe get started on that.
I agree, Beth. I think that's a really good point, and something that we should work towards. Absolutely.
It's cumbersome on these people that have to come here, they're jump through all these hoops. Nobody wants to come to a meeting at 7 o'clock at night to be told whether or not they can build their dream home.
Right.
It's something so small. And it's stressful for them, it's a lot of work for staff, it's a lot of work for staff and for us,
Trustee Pazmino and myself have had that conversation with Mr. Baker this past week. He was on vacation, and so we are soon going to be going through that with Joe. He has committed to spending the time with us to start that process. And that'll include all of us in the long run to make those changes for our community and for the businesses that this had, just like Beth has said and everybody here has said, that it's become cumbersome, and the things here are minor things, and it takes up a lot of staff's time. And the person who's trying to get the variance, it takes up their time. So I think in the near future, you will see that process taking place. In the meantime, while we're talking about this, BJ, maybe you can help out, Joe, maybe you can help BJ as far as explaining. So I know I talked to both of you during the week, but explain as to why 2 of the 6 only went to the Planning Commission and the rest did not go to the Planning Commission, just for the public's knowledge.
Sure. So the 2 items on the building material variances, they're actually in the building code. The village board is the appeals board for the building code changes, so that's why it's coming to you directly. The one for Joe Lasco's sign is actually a planned unit development, and if adding the additional wall sign is classified as a minor change to the planned unit development, so that's something we can fix it going forward. But right now by code, they have to come to the village board for approval as a minor change. So those are the reasons why they're here.
BJ, can I? Sorry, good question, Dan.
Can I ask you a question? In regards to the Jewel Osco, where they're going to be putting that sign there, is that actually that's where the pickup area is going to be, correct?
That's correct, for the drive-up signage, yes.
Has anybody ever gone over there and done a traffic study to see how congested that area is at any given time of the day?
So you're talking about the 4 spaces they're going to take up?
Not the 4 spaces, I'm talking about the rest of the stores that double park there every single day along that road and block the traffic.
We will look into that.
All right, yeah, I would appreciate if somebody could really look into that, because as a shopper at Jewel, I know that I've had to wait in line several times because there were people double parked in front of the beauty salon, the tobacco store, whereas if you're going to have people constantly coming there to pick stuff up from that area there, it's going to be congested. And even though that there are parking spaces, the other patrons don't, they don't obey the rules.
I'd like to go back to H1. Joe, I had a conversation with you, you said there was going to be an example of the stucco or an explanation as to the difference, because there was a time when there was the foam that was installed on the house with the mesh wire and then a stucco put over it. With this house, this is a $1 million house that's being built, the way I understand it, it's very
Different type of material entirely. It's an exterior insulated system, Drive-It. A lot of people know by the brand name. It's a totally different system. This gentleman is using actually stucco. It's a wire mesh with, the house is wrapped with a house wrap with felt paper, with wire mesh, then a cement base, another fiber mesh, and then a skim coat on top of it. It does meet building code. It's a little bit different with than the EFIS system that has been problematic for the last few years and made some been in the news and things like that as a problem. But all materials and any type of system has to meet the building code anyway. So this is a good material.
So what you're talking about is the old material used to have a mold issue when it was the foam and the stucco over that. This does not have that problem where it promotes mold growth.
As long as the product is installed properly and maintained, you shouldn't have a problem, even with that type of system that you're talking. If it's maintained and done properly, that's the problem, is having the installation occur properly, that where you run into problems. But this particular material, this stucco, is less likely to have those types of problems.
And your recommendation is to approve?
Would be to approve this. It does meet building code.
Thank you, Joe.
Do we have a rendering of a picture of the home instead of just the drawing?
I do not believe we do.
Normally an architect will give you a picture of what he proposes to make the house.
We don't have a color rendering of this particular home.
Okay. Do you know if around the windows, if it's going to be stucco, foam, what's the procedure?
It's going to be stucco.
It's going to be stucco?
Joe, if you can turn your mic off, please, thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, are there any other questions? What Beth had said, we've actually been asking for the last few years, and I know it's been crazy. We've been busy, the village is growing, but we still do have a horrible, we're not liked on the streets because the builders come here and they have a hard time with trying to get something done here. So I guess this is the straw that broke the camel's back. Let's get this going.
We're happy
because we're wasting a lot of people's time and money and our time. So let's make sure that, we're going to go through these tonight because they're here and we don't want to slow them up anymore. But let's get the ball rolling on this. Madam Clerk, could you please call the roll?
Trustee Rogers?
Aye.
Trustee Kazmino?
Aye.
Trustee Laha? Aye. Trustee Fialko?
Aye.
Trustee Cancelino? Aye. Trustee Reinders?
Aye.
And that goes to show you that we do have a board that does work together. So sometimes you got to understand, there's a million things that come before us. It's not like we have all the time in the world to look into every single solitary thing. So all of us look at these things and figure out what's a better way to do it. But it takes time. Nothing goes fast for the government. And it's not because we're lazy, it's because time. And we want to make sure that what we're doing is exactly what we should be doing for the residents here and the businesses. So, next one would be, is there a motion to approve ordinance number 21-027, an ordinance approving a variance to reduce the required side yard setback for the proposed residential single-family detached dwelling from 25 feet to 15 feet for certain real property located in the R1 single-family residential district at 13631 South Maple Avenue, also known as Lot 87, in Robert Bartlett's Creekwood subdivision, Homer Glen, Illinois, case number HG 2112-D. Is there a motion?
I'll make that motion.
Second.
Okay, so there. Okay. Is there a discussion?
I'd like to just mention that Trustee Casmino and myself were out on this property and walked this property down to see exactly what was going on. The thing that drew our attention was where it says there's a difficult drain condition. Once we were out there and got to see what they're doing, and I also talked to Mike Selmarolich and I believe BJ this morning, and concern was where the driveway goes over this area. They looked into the building permit or the building plans, and they said there will be a drainage tile put there with the wings on each side of it, not creating any problems for that drainage in that area. So that's in it.
Okay, is there any other discussion on it? Madam Clerk, please call the roll.
Trustee Casmino?
Aye.
Trustee Lana?
Aye.
Trustee Fielko?
Aye.
Trustee Cancelino? Aye. Trustee Reinders?
Aye.
And Trustee Rogers?
Aye.
Motion carries. Next, is there a motion to approve ordinance number 21-028, an ordinance granting a variance to permit glass, stucco, and metal on the first floor of the dwelling in lieu of the exterior construction standards required that stone or brick material cover 100% of the aggregate total area of all first floor or story exterior walls, exclusive of doors, windows, and associated trim. Applicability and scope, type of building or structure of Chapter 75 buildings of the Code of the Village of Homer Glen for certain real property located in the R1 single-family residential district at 13631 Maple Avenue, Homer Glen, Illinois. We need a motion.
So moved. Second.
Trustee Fialko?
Casmino.
Casmino first, and Fialko. Discussion.
What I'd like to say with this one, Joe, the stucco they're talking about is the same stucco that the house on Wood Duck is using? Is that the same stucco?
Pretty sure it is. Like I said previously, it's going to have to meet building code requirements anyway, so it's an improved material.
This is the same property as H2 that we just talked about. So, thank you, Joe.
I just would like to be invited over to this house when it's finished, for the record. It looks beautiful.
Very nice.
Okay, Madam Clerk, could you please call the roll?
Trustee Fialko?
Aye.
Trustee Cancelino? Aye. Trustee Reinders?
Aye.
Trustee Rogers?
Aye.
Trustee Casmino?
Aye.
And Trustee Lana?
Aye.
Motion carries. Next, is there a motion to approve ordinance number 21-029, an ordinance approving the amendment of the special use permit granted by the Village of Homer Glen, ordinance number 03-003, for minor changes to the Homer Town Square plan development with the following exceptions. To increase the number of allowable wall signs for the business tenant, Jewel, from 1 to 3, to increase the total allowable copy area from 408 square feet to 456 square feet, to allow 4 parking stall signs, to allow 4 directional signs, and to allow 5 cart corral signs for certain real property on the west side of Southwell Road, north of 143rd Street, Homer Glen, Illinois, case number HG 2116S. Do I have a motion?
So moved.
Second.
Who's it?
Castellino.
Discussion?
I'd like to say, I think this is obviously the way a lot of stores are going, and I see this as a really great accessibility addition to Homer Glen. Maybe people with disabilities, our senior residents, young mothers who may not want to get out of the car because they have kids in tow with them. So personally, I know I use this a lot with Target and other places, and I do see this as a nice asset for accessibility of Homer Glen.
I'd also like to add to that just a little bit. We talk about changing ordinances. One of the biggest complaints I've heard since I've gotten started is the sign ordinance issues for all businesses here, which I hope that the trustees here and I can take and make that one of our first items when we change some of the ordinances to give some relief to the businesses. All the businesses in Homer Glen are the foundation of the community we call home. And if we can help out businesses, we're helping the village. And I'm glad that Jul's here. I want Jewel to stay here. I want them to have the flexibility to run their business how they want to. And this small change, I support.
I agree.
Agreed.
Okay, is that it for discussion? Madam Clerk, could you please call the roll?
Trustee Castellino? Aye. Trustee Reinders?
Aye.
Trustee Rogers?
Aye.
Trustee Pezino?
Aye.
Trustee Lahat?
Aye.
Trustee Field?
Aye.
Motion carries. Next, is there a motion to approve ordinance number 21-030, an ordinance approving a special use permit to allow spa massage services for certain real property located at C1 Neighborhood Commercial District, 13007 West 143rd Street, Homer Glen, Illinois, case number HG2113S. Do we need to read this? Okay. Do you want to come up so this way if anyone has any questions, we can get them answered?
Good evening, everyone.
Give me 1 second. I need a motion.
I so move.
And who's second? Okay, now we can. So discussion, does anyone have any questions?
I do, Your Honor. I was actually at the Plan Commission when you were there, and I just have a couple of questions about the name of the spa. Will it continue to a new spa? Yes, ma'am. There is no massage in any? No, ma'am. Okay, no, ma'am.
It's going to be only herbal facials, hot oil treatment for the hair,
Right.
and eyebrow threading and body waxing.
I'm talking about in the sign, advertising the sign. There
Oh,
will
no,
be-
no, no, no,
Okay.
no,
Okay.
no.
And then I understand that you have to obtain another license for that space?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. What is the reasoning having two licenses with the same business?
It's just I want to open my own, like, that's under my husband corporation, so I want to do my own corporation. It just, yeah.
And maybe you can explain to the board here what you're actually going to be doing there, facials versus body massage?
Oh, no body massage. It's going to be only facials, herbal massage, and hot oil treatment for hair, and it's all going to be herbal. No chemical in it, using in it, and then body waxing. The space I have, it's very small right now. It has only one room in it. So sometimes 2-3 women want to come together for the birthday party, or like, hey, we all friends want to come for facial massage, but then I have no space. So I want to extend some next to it, so that's going to be only for facials and relaxing, no kids allowed. Like, I want to give the environment like a spa kind of. That's why I named the spa.
Okay.
So like it's more attractive to people, and it's going to be more calm than my studio.
Okay. Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am.
Any other questions?
Trustee Pazmino and myself were out there and met you the other day. And thank you very much for being so welcoming and answering our questions when we were out there. It's great to see you reaching out and trying to expand your business or start your new business. Some of those storefronts that have been empty for a long time will now be filled.
Yes.
I hope you remain with us for a long time.
Sure.
I wish you a lot of success.
Thank you.
Again, The businesses in Homer Glen are the foundation of the community we call home, and thank you very much.
Thank you, sir. Thank you so much. That's all. I can go.
Any other questions? Okay, no other discussion? Madam Clerk, please call the roll.
Trustee Reinders? Aye. Trustee Rogers? Aye. Trustee Kazmino?
Aye.
Trustee Laha? Aye. Trustee Fielko?
Aye.
And Trustee Cancelino? Aye.
Motion carries. Next, is there a motion to approve ordinance number 21-031, an ordinance approving an extension to the variances granted via ordinance 20-026 for the proposed Windsor Court Phase 2 subdivision located at 12513 West Hadley Road, Homer Glen, Illinois. Motion?
So,
Second.
Members? Unanimous. Trustee Laha. Discussion.
Could I ask whoever has the history on this, just to explain to the board, since this has been carried on for some time, just to give us a little bit of background information on this one?
Sure. I got this one.
Yeah.
Come on up, come forward. He's been here multiple times, you're right. There's two basically subdivisions in Windsor Court. He took the property on the west. It's been a difficult area because you only have a one-way into the subdivision and one way out. So the only thing that was scaring us is, God forbid, tornado or the fire department had to get down here. It wasn't big enough to allow them to come down the street. And then they would have to make a swing. And that's where it dead ends into a property that there's nothing. There's a cul-de-sac, as you come up the road, there's a cul-de-sac. It's nothing that's gigantic, but if you had two fire engines there, you're kind of stuck. But now you're going to be putting the roadway a little bit further east of your houses, correct? Where you were going to have one house before, you've got it right now, you've got 3 at the south side, 3 on the north side, then you have the other property that's in the middle. I don't know what you're going to be doing with it.
It has the blessing of the fire department.
Right. So I mean, everything has been approved here for this. But I would look at the picture of what you're seeing, so this way.
So the reason Mr. O'Malley is here, the ordinance that was approved a year ago is expiring. The variances would expire unless he receives an extension tonight for 1 more year to keep the subdivision plat alive. So that's the reason he's here tonight.
So you want to extend this from July 8th of 2021 to July 8th of 2022? Mr. O'Malley, how long has it been now since you've been trying to get this in here?
Okay, so originally, as you recall, we had 11 lots approved for this development. We were going to access the site directly across from Brentwood. It was all approved, and then the Will County Highway Department denied access to Hadley Road from our site because there were 2 entrances too close to each other. So we went back, we met with the fire department. What we agreed upon is the access road that's in there for Hadley Road back to the site. So if there was ever an emergency scenario there, they would be able to use that paved road that we're going to install with the development. We've also granted approval for a tornado siren up by the retention area up by Hadley Road as well.
So is there any other concerns or discussion that you would like to? And then are you okay with extending this for another year? All right, well, let's, all right, so. Madam Clerk, could you call the,
Sure. Trustee Rogers?
Aye.
How about you, Trustee Kazmino?
Sure, why not?
Trustee Laha. Aye. Trustee Bialgo. Aye. Trustee Consolino. And Trustee Reinders.
Aye.
Okay, so this is extended for one more year, and we understand you had the COVID problems and everything too, so let's see what we can get done.
I look forward to it, thank you.
Thank you. Next is a workshop. Oh, no, we're gonna table the workshop, so next is old business. Is there any old business? No, next is new business.
Mayor, I'd like to request that the board, we've recently heard, and the township has come out and publicly stated that they're interested in donating or turning over their parks to the village of Homer Glen. And I've asked, a few times, what I'd like to see is for this, for the village to go out for an RFP on those sites so that we have some idea of what that cost is. I understand there's no cost to take it, but there is a cost to maintaining it. And what is that cost going to, how is that cost going to impact our budget? How is it going to impact the residents? We don't have the staff. So what I'd like to see, just so to start the ball going, is I'd like for us to go out to RFP for each of those parcels that they're indicating they want to turn over to the village so that we can at least have some type of a foundation of what we would be looking at to maintain them. And most of them are vacant lands, so they're what I would consider cut and run. Where there's not a lot to do there. When I was managing property on some of those, I would probably at the most have them cut twice a month. They're just typical cut and runs. Some of them do have equipment, so I'd like to see some type of study done on those equipment. Are they going to pass what the state requires as far as safety, repairs, that type of thing? So I'd like for the board to at least to go out for an RFP at the minimum on those vacant lots. I don't know if we want to spend the money to have that equipment tested or looked at this point because we are so preliminary. But I would like at the minimum to see us go out and get some numbers on what we could potentially be looking at taking on.
Well, the township also said that they would cover this for cutting it. But
like
either way, we still have to find out what that
Right.
cost is.
Right.
So, all right, is there any other discussion?
I actually did have a conversation with John Robinson last week about this, and he's on vacation this week. And next week, he was actually going to go and evaluate each park and come back and give us a report, actually to the Parks Committee, and give us a report on that. And I even asked him if it would be possible, if I could go with him and take some pictures and, just to see that.
We still got to send out for cost-wise, just the cost analysis, because John couldn't do that for us, but at least he can explain everything to us, what would have to be done to make sure this looks right. So, if everyone's...
I just have one more question. So is there a time frame that we should put behind this? Just because I would hate to lose...
If I may, I do have some of that information. I have talked to John Robinson and do have some of the basic first step costs. I don't know if you want to talk now or... Sure. So, at least generally...
Yeah, it has to be an agenda item.
Otherwise, we're going to screw ourselves up and not know what we're doing.
But the timeline is very short. We can do that very quickly.
Thank you.
So the RFP would be pretty much for maintenance and what it would cost to maintain these?
Yeah, to fertilize it, to go ahead and cut it, depending on if you have any other structures that are in there, because it's additional.
The condition of the structure.
Condition of the structures and
Right.
the equipment.
Full maintenance of all the property.
Yeah, so.
Yeah,
we'll
there's
get-
only
we'll
to
get
do
a
with
cost to find out
equipment,
exactly
right?
what this is
Yeah.
going to be for us.
Yeah.
Okay, thank you.
I'm sorry, I can't.
Sorry.
It's, all right, so we've got the answer here. And what was on your side, John?
No, I was just saying, we were figuring out how many parks actually had equipment, and I think it was 3. So it's just evaluating if that equipment is safe.
I think that I'd like to see the RFP before it goes out too, just because of my experience in this kind of maintenance. I've never ever fertilized vacant lots, so I wouldn't say that, but it could be a line item if it's a property that's contiguous to some other suburban homes, so that it doesn't look weedy. And so I'd like to see that before it goes out, but I definitely do want to see it go out to third parties. Local businesses, local landscapers. We don't have to give it all to one person, Jim can mow this one and Susie can mow that one. It doesn't have to be one big company that's doing all of them. I would like to kind of see that RFP. I think the RFP should also go to the Parks Committee, so that they can review it, and maybe you guys can have some type of a field trip where you kind of go and look at some of these things too.
Find out what they're doing.
Yeah, I think that's a great idea.
I just want to manage expectations. We did have, in the spring, we did go out to RFP for fertilization and some weed management services for the neighborhood parks, and the price came in well below the level that it needs to come to board approval. So I think, well, that's first off good news, but that's the reason why it hadn't come back. It was just a staff approval for those lots. So we had that information, so certainly can share that with the board, but it's already been sent out, so it would just be a matter of adding whatever parks or space that there is. But I'll certainly share that with the board.
I believe that's on the agenda for the Parks Committee.
I think also that if you're going to go with the fertilizing route, that you should probably get the opinion of the environmental committee on some of those lots, and how close they are to waterways and other things like that, because that.
One for sure is.
But let's get the price.
One for sure is better.
Right. But if we're setting it out, let's get the price for everything right now.
Sure.
We can
Yeah,
always
line items.
weed it out. Okay,
I have something to add to new business, if that's okay, sir.
well, we've got to finish up this one first. So is everyone
Okay.
concurs that we'll put the thing out for RFP, get it to Beth before it does go out, and let's get a full list. Okay?
Yes.
All right. So, Dan, what do you got?
During the last couple of weeks with all this rain, we had an abundance of mosquitoes. They were everywhere. Everyone knows now how bad it had gotten. In the meantime, Clark Mosquito was contacted to spray a little bit early. And then on Facebook, there were a lot of questions that came up about the pollinators, the bees, and the butterflies and how that affects them. I talked to Jack Tennish myself, and he has a professional explanation for those questions. So I'd like to reach out, I'd like to have the village manager set up an appointment with him to be here at our next meeting to give a quick little representation of the company and those items that had come up during this past spraying not season, but this past week when spraying was done, which would be for our June 28th meeting.
July.
Or July, correct.
That's all right. Happens all the time. All right, and I wouldn't have a problem with it either. The mosquitoes this year with the amount of rain, seems like it rained a little bit every day, so they always have a place to go, so.
In the meantime, what I'd like to say though, to the public that is listening, Clark, CLARKE.com, you can probably find your answers there a little quicker if you don't want to wait till July 28th. They have a great Q&A on their website. It answers a lot of questions. They use a chemical called Anvil, and there are the studies. They show everything that is done in the process, and the bees and the butterfly pollinators are covered in some of that Q&A. So if you'd like to go there before the meeting on July 28th, that would be the place to go. Clark, CLARKE.com.
Okay, is there any other new business?
Yes, sir. I have some really quick.
Okay.
So given the last events that happened, and not to scare everybody, but just the last sheriff event that we had, I thought was very well received for crime awareness, safety awareness. I thought I'd throw it out there just to see perhaps if we could do that again. I spoke with Lieutenant Holly, and he said he'd love to do it. Perhaps maybe we can bring a few more people from the Will County Sheriff's Office. The last event, a lot of people came, a lot of people asked if we can do another one. You know, how to do community awareness events, neighborhood watch type deals. I don't know, I just thought it would be something useful.
Well, with what's happened lately, I think it's a very good idea too.
Okay. So,
I think it's a great idea.
Yes.
And
yes. And yes.
so man, that's something maybe we could put together, maybe we could work on with everybody, maybe the safety committee, public safety.
Absolutely, and I would also just add, somewhat related, the emergency operating plan that was presented back in March, we're bringing it back forward for the new board members. It was not adopted back in the spring, so that will come up, and there's been some discussion about working on some type of emergency notification way that the village has more control, and the county has some programs, but maybe one that the village has more targeted power. But yes, we can work on that meeting with the sheriff's department.
Okay.
Thank you.
Is there any other new business? Okay. Next is executive session. Is there a motion to go into executive session for the purpose of discussing pending and potential litigation, real estate, and personnel?
We'll make that motion.
Second.
Okay. You roll call, and then we have 5 minutes.
Trustee Rogers?
Aye.
Trustee Pazmino?
Aye.
Trustee Fialko?
Aye.
Trustee Consolino?
Aye.
Trustee Lana?
Aye.
Trustee Reinders?
Aye.
All right, 5 minutes if we can take a break, and then we'll come back for